Hi, I'm Dr. Faisel Syed. Welcome to another episode of Faisel and Friends. We're here because we believe everyone deserves access to quality primary care, and ChenMed needs physicians to take care of them. Tonight's topic is a virtual care blueprint. We have a very special friend joining us tonight, but before that, let me introduce my co host and moderator of the chat, Dr. Dan McCarter. Dr. Dan.
Hey, Faisal. It's great to be with you again this evening.
It is wonderful to be with you. And now, today is definitely feeling like one of those days. It's only Tuesday, and it already feels like it's like Thursday or Friday.
Well, with your recent travel schedule, I can only imagine.
Oh my gosh, we're back out again, that's for sure. Well, tonight's topic is very special, and our actually the friend joining us is really the person who really helped us get out there. First, getting on Instagram, and we go to Instagram Live, and then we got this LinkedIn Live, and from the LinkedIn Live doing the simulcast. Our very special friend Robert Longyear. Robert,
Hey, Faisal, good to be back.
oh
It's
my
been a while.
gosh, it is so great to have you here. Isn't this so fancy? This is so different compared to.
Yeah,
You
things have
know,
really upgraded since Instagram Live and my really long hair. So,
You're Your long hair, me at a campsite walking around.
oh yeah, you did it from the camper one of those first times too. It's hard to believe it's been a year and a couple months since we did the first one together.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, actually. Well, Robert, it's great to have you back, and congratulations with your new book.
Oh, thank you. Yes. A lot of people show up, they're really jazzed about the book, but it's always fake, right? Because you're just so glad to be done with it. You love what you put into it, and you're just so glad to have gone over it 150 times. And by the time it comes out, you're like, good.
I remember, yeah, actually, the pre before we went live, we were just catching up, and I remember now that it was one of our early conversations, doing the interview for the book, and it was at the time when we made the switch as an organization from we have a model that's high touch, in person, frequent visits, um, and we had to make the switch from seeing patients in person regularly on a monthly basis, which was just a routine, to to virtual, and we were able to make that switch actually pretty quickly. Within a week, it was 6 days. We were able to make the switch from seeing patients in person to doing it virtually. And I remember in those early days, I was worried about how seniors, our average patient is 72 plus years old, multiple chronic medical conditions. They live in underserved neighborhoods across the country. And I was worried about seniors embracing the televisits, the video visits, and thank God for grandchildren. Literally, thank God for grandchildren, because patients like my father's a Chen Med patient. He's turning 70 next month. And yeah, he won't FaceTime my youngest brother in Texas. We live in Florida, but he will definitely FaceTime his children, to be close with his grandchildren. And so when we made the switch from in person visits to televisits and televideo visits, we got lumped in as the primary care delivery team in with this niche group of people, the grandchildren and the loved ones of our patients. And so there was an intimacy that occurred. Patients suddenly started, to show us around their living situation. And I was able to say, hey, I don't think that that's safe to have that there. I'm worried you could trip over that. Or we'd be talking about lifestyle, making some changes with their diet, and they would take me to their cupboard and show me what they've got in the cupboard. They opened the fridge and other. Besides that, unless you go physically in the home, you don't get that kind of you can't get that kind of view. So it was wonderful. It was wonderful, very intimate. It was a different type of intimacy.
Yeah, absolutely. And, obviously I'm a big believer in, virtual care and telemedicine. And, I wrote a book on it. And, there's a lot of different benefits of why this is the case. And most commonly, when it comes to telemedicine or virtual care, the number one cited thing is access, right? People can access a doctor anywhere they have a smartphone, a computer, and the internet, right? And that's the first thing that comes up when you hear people say, oh, telemedicine. But access is just sort of scratching the surface of what our new technologies can allow us to do with patients. And the book really takes us on a journey from the early days of telemedicine back in the early 2000s, where Teladoc and MD Live were first getting started as sort of these like startup direct to consumer telemedicine companies. And they would just be sort of a FaceTime with a patient. um, and that model works really really well, but for sometimes you get these situations where you can't do very much, right? You can't touch the patient, you can't do lab tests and things like that, especially when you're just talking to a patient for the first time, right? And that was sort of like the genesis of all this. And the difference between that and what you guys have had to do is that you had an existing relationship with the patient, so you have a history with them. You're able to give more sort of longitudinal chronic care because you have this long-term relationship with those patients. And so my book starts with this concept that audiovisual telemedicine at this point should just be the norm, and policymakers and lots of health organizations just had to get around to it during COVID-19. And policymakers still are, a lot of them don't quite get it. How can the doctor possibly talk to me over video? How can they care for me over the video, right? That's still a concept that's bewildering to a lot of people based on the fact
Yeah.
that it's not widely accessible just yet. But virtual care is so much more than that, and it's going to continue to evolve to be more than that, in that we have the ability to collect real-time data from patients in the home. We have the ability to engage with patients differently. We have the ability to automate a lot of sort of manual tasks that physicians have to fill out and have to do all the time. And so the book takes telemedicine a little bit of a step further to talk a little bit more about what's the next generation of telemedicine and virtual care. And that's actually collecting real time data on patient conditions from the home through a model called remote patient monitoring, remote physiological monitoring. Um, and that really gives the telemedicine physician eyes and ears on the patient's condition in the home. Now, at ChenMed, you guys don't really necessarily have the same problems as a lot of the other primary care and the fee for service providers, because you already see your patients so often, right? You see your patients a couple times a month. They can come in, every other week if they need to. You do your love calls out to patients to try and talk to them. But a lot of providers just really, they don't do that. They see their patients every 3 months. They see their patients every 4 months. And so the idea behind the book and remote patient monitoring is, can we actually automate patient check-ins? Can we collect patient data when they're not in the clinic, to be able to help in the fee-for-service system or in value-based care arrangements actually,
Sure.
impact clinical conditions and catch things before they go bad. And so the idea is, you have a hypertension patient, for example, you see that their systolic is, slowly climbing over the past couple of weeks. They're able to see that in real time and reach out to that patient, even though they might not have come into the clinic for another couple of months. So that's really the premise of the book.
It's even with establishing new patients. The yes, there's the pathophysiology. There's the medical component with whatever medications they're on, whatever treatments that they have, or specialist doctors are seeing. But there's a trust, establishing that relationship. And with chronic disease management, especially when the doctors are focused on influencing positive behavior changes, you can do a lot in this virtual manner. But so far as like data, collecting data in a virtual manner, we can do so much. I my father-in-law has one of those monitors for the EKG strips. It's incredible, to be able to see. He says he's doing much. He's completely fine now, but there was a time when he wasn't feeling well, and he had an arrhythmia, and he was able to quickly check his rhythm strip, and we were able to see what was going on with him. That was incredible. This is just within the last couple of years, and instantly know what's going on.